playing the FA Cup over the weekend, we saw Arsenal getting kicked out of the FA Cup from quadruple to treble, now to double. Um, they were beaten by Southampton, and we saw some horrible defending. I mean, I was surprised with the kind of defending I saw, and I was scratching my head. This is the same team that is supposed to be competing for the title. Um, Collins, what do you make of this game?
I think I was the happiest man that day. Like, I was there. I was so happy that I, I was like, I couldn't even. I was. it was. It was very satisfying. You understand?
Why?
When Manchester
Why are you happy that Chelsea lost? Why? That Arsenal lost. Why?
is isn't isn't it obvious? I don't like this. Why would I, as a Chelsea fan, be wanting Arsenal to win? I don't want Arsenal to win anything. The only thing is that now the only thing I'm not happy about is the fact that they can still win the Premier League. Yes, I still want them to go trophy because there's no Chelsea fan that was not common. Yeah, you're asking a Chelsea fan, why am I happy? I want us all be happy. You understand? It was like my birthday. You understand? I almost threw a party, but I don't know, maybe rain started falling or something. That was a very fantastic. I have to say kudos to Southampton because that was they managed Arsenal well. Like they managed Arsenal well. Like I didn't see the whole game, but I saw the first half, and the first half was Arsenal were okay. Look at the defensive blunders that were made. You understand? That comes from that alone. I think they are still dealing with the Man City's result. You understand? That Man City's result is still a shocker to them. You understand? I remember mentioning something about Arsenal. I think it was on the show like this. I mentioned I mentioned about Arsenal. I said Arsenal sometimes if they want to play you, you understand, especially when they wanted to play Chelsea. I said they have to play against Chelsea mentally and physically. You understand? This
But
Man
that's
City
true.
loss
You said that.
affected them mentally. Yes, so that Man City loss affected them mentally, but nobody knows that yet. Nobody expected them to lose. Man City, how do you lose to Man City? You understand? And their mental this thing is like, oh God, who is going to play for 5 seasons? Is this going to be another season? They're going to have to battle that. You understand? And teams that are smart to use it against them because they are not going to be playing. When you play with a free mind, when you play you play well, you understand. But now they have to fight this mental. I hope Ateta helps them to get over it because if they don't, we are going to be seeing 3 point gap between them and Man City. I'm not even joking. Anyhow, I'm already seeing them out of the Champions League already. So I give Southampton kudos for kicking them out. Like I said, they managed Arsenal well. Arsenal had a couple of chances that they missed before. When I saw that one, I thought they were going to come back until that dying minute go, and I was very very excited. So it's good as a Chelsea fan. I'm excited they are out because they are the only real threats. You understand? They and then are corner kicks. Any set piece they are still got to be the beat us. That's the one beating just corner kicks, and I'm excited they and their black ass football they are out of the FA Cup. So let's see if we can at least scam this trophy. You understand? Thank you.
Well, Temiloluwa, I mean, you are a Chelsea fan. I know you are happy about the result. But, I mean, looking at the game tactically, Colin said something that, and he has said this about 2, 3 weeks ago on the same show, that Arsenal, the game against Man City, would have a way of affecting them psychologically. They lost the final against Man City, and against the Southampton, you would expect them to win. What went wrong in that particular game? What went wrong?
Okay. So first and foremost, I've always said this, and I've said it that Arsenal are an elephant on the tree. No one knows how they got there. But one thing is certain, they'll come down. And I can remember on this show, I spoke about the psychological part of the game. that if they lose against Manchester City, it will be the beginning of the end. I can remember saying that. And losing to Man City has a mental effect. Football is just beyond tactics and patterns. You understand? It's a psychological game. So it's a game that is played in the head even before it is played with the leg. So for the fact that Arsenal have lost that match to Manchester City, losing that cup to a struggling Manchester City side, it has that effect on them. People, some Arsenal fans are saying probably maybe because of the rotation, probably, and I'm like, it's not about the rotation. You are playing a team that is seventh in the championship. They are not yet in the playoff, so they are seventh in the championship. You are topping the Premier League, so it's not about player quality now. It is about the mentality of the players. It's about the reverse psychology that the match against Man City has given them. And now this is the dangerous part of the season because the remaining matches of the season are like finals. And if this is how Arsenal want to continue playing, there's a tendency they don't win anything. I was very, very surprised at Arsenal fans saying we are going for the quadruple. We are going for the quadruple. One has gone, you understand? And now another one has gone. And then the third one will go. And then there's a possibility the fourth one is taken to the last match day. And then maybe Man City wins it by goal difference or something because you can already see the momentum from Manchester City. The match against Arsenal was a turning point for both clubs. If Arsenal had won that match, it would have given them more morale to pursue other trophies. Man City winning that match gave them an impression that, we've won one, we can actually go for the Premier League. And I still tell Arsenal fans, the Premier League is not finished yet because we know Manchester City and we know Arsenal. Arsenal, I my on this show there was one of my co-analysts that spoke about bringing something to the table, and I told him that when the time reach, they'll bring bottles to the table and not trophy. And here we are, they've bottled the second one. So I just feel it's a mental something, and we need to just give kudos to Arsene Wenger for what he has done at Arsenal. I think now it is becoming glaring as day that it is not easy winning trophy at Arsenal. Let's just be completely honest with ourselves. It is not easy, and Arsene Wenger winning 2 Premier League trophies with Arsenal is quite an achievement. You understand? And in an era where you had a prime time Chelsea, a prime time Manchester United, you understand, a bubbling Liverpool going ahead to win the Premier League trophy in that era, even doing it as invisibles. I think it is high time we need to revisit those things and actually give them the recognition that they deserve. You understand? Because imagine a season where almost every single club are poor, and yet Arsenal are still struggling to win. Manchester City are struggling. Liverpool are struggling. Chelsea are struggling. Manchester United are struggling. Aston Villa are struggling. The only team that we can say are currently on the path is Arsenal. And they are also on the path to bottling the whole thing. Out of 4 trophies now, they've dropped out. They've dropped in two. They've
Two.
dropped out of
Yeah.
two in the space of 3 weeks. That alone speaks a lot of volume, and it plays in the mentality of the players that, okay, how do we go from here? Where do we go? What do we turn to? What tactics do we deploy? Set pieces are not working again. What next? Because they paint this ideology that they don't rely heavily on set piece, which I will partially agree with. But in this setup now, set pieces are not working. Then what are the go-to things? Imagine most of the Arsenal players feigning injuries for their national team just to play for the club football.
Well, that's
Playing
true.
for the club football and you are losing against Southampton. It is becoming a psychological problem. You understand? It's becoming a mental
Hmm.
problem. So I think it's the mentality that the players are starting to have that, okay, we have this near success syndrome. You understand? Near trophy syndrome. We're only seeing it. And I tell people that football is a game that is played in the head before the leg. And that is why you see Real Madrid always turn up heavily in the Champions League than they do in La Liga. Even without proper tactics, there's always this mentality, this psyche in them that, okay, this is Champions League. We have to give our 100%, regardless of playing 3-4-3, 5-4-2, 5-4-1, regardless of what we play. We are Real Madrid. We have to turn up. You understand? So until when Arsenal have that kind of mentality, you understand, before they can actually like get that nudge and then start winning trophies. But like Mr. Collins said, I will be happy if Arsenal goes trophyless. Why? Because if they actually win one trophy, they will become noisy neighbors. They will be making unnecessary noises. You understand? And that is when they start drawing comparison with Manchester United. You hear talks like, how many trophies have they won in the last 5 years? You understand those kind of comparisons. It is not healthy for an Arsenal side that is actually struggling to win trophies. You understand? But on the other side, let me just look from an Arsenal fans' perspective. The question will be, where do we go from here?
Hmm.
Who do you get next? Because there's a possibility you get a new manager and then he starts from scratch again. And
True.
maybe you have to wait another 4 years before you get to the final again. So that's kind of, in as much as we are mocking Liverpool that they are struggling, we are bantering and the struggles, we are doing everything. They are Premier League winners. They are still the current
True.
Premier League champions. So let's say they are struggling this season, yes, but they are still the current champions. And if you call out Premier League winners in the last 3 years, you see Liverpool there. You understand that mentality has already been imbibed, and it comes from getting experienced players that knows how to win.
Hmm.
You understand? That is the mistake that Arsenal are making. They are not getting players that have that orientation of winning. They are getting top players, but not top players that know how to win. When you check Declan Rice, check how many trophies he has won in his career. The gods will be Mendy, how many trophies has he won in his career? You understand? So when you check all of these players, most of them have not won trophies. This is one of the reasons why you see that even as bad as Manchester United can be, they still struggle to win. Because why? They got a Casemiro that has an impression of how to win.
True.
Back then they got a Varane. Back then they got Martinez that just won the World Cup. You understand? So these players have this impression. They have this built-in mentality of how to win. They have the Rashford. These are players that know how to win. But when you look at the Arsenal squad, you look at, okay, who among them can actually beat his chest that he is a winner, he's a serial winner, or he has that mentality to win. You understand? It's a different thing for you to have top players, and it's a different thing for you to have players that have that mentality to win. You understand? And I think if Arsenal fails to win anything this season, they need to sell a portion of their squad and get players that know how to think. As far back as going to Bayern to get players, as far back as going to Madrid to get players, as far back as going to Barcelona to get players, players that have this winning mentality imbibed in them. It is necessary because I think that is the edge now that is making them to fail woefully. You understand?
Hmm.
You are in 4 competitions, your players feigned injury, just to come back to help the club, they lost to Southampton. That one on its own is even going to have a mental effect. It's true. You understand? We all feigned injury. Say, okay, let's not get injury so that we can help Arsenal. And then you are coming back from international break. Your
But
first match is
but it
against a
seems
team that is seventh
that
in
is
the
not war.
championship, and they knock you out 2-1. And then you everybody in the dressing room will be like, okay, where do we go next from here? Who do we? Because their go-to, they don't. I always say this that Arsenal don't have a go-to guy. And if you as a club don't have a go-to guy, you will struggle heavily. In matches like this is where your go-to guy takes the match on their head. Some Arsenal fans say Saka is the go-to guy. Some say Odegaard is the go-to. You don't have these guys cannot single-handedly hold games. You can see what Haaland did with Liverpool. Patrick, that's your go-to guy. You understand? You can see what Vinicius will do for Madrid in the Champions League. That's your go-to guy. You can see what Harry Kane is doing for Bayern Munich. That's your go-to guy. Then you ask yourself in Arsenal, who is the go-to guy? Gyökeres is actually trying, but there is somebody that you know that, okay, this is a final, give the ball to this said person, he is going to perform magic. Arsenal doesn't have it, and that, I think that is the next piece of their recruitment. But I just feel I'm happy they lost because I have a lot of Arsenal fans around me, and considering the fact that my club is struggling as well, so they were already choking me even before the match. So for the fact that they are out already, it's a plus for myself. So also the Champions League, they are up against Sporting Lisbon, and I think unless Arteta brings in fresh energy in terms of idea, I think Arsenal will struggle to the end of the season because they feel like we've been doing everything right for the most of the season. Now this is the most interesting part of the season and they are failing. So I think it is going to be a very tough one. If they even want to replace Michael Arteta, who do they replace him with? It's also another tough question because there are not a lot of top quality managers in the market. So for Arsenal fans, whatever you bring to the table, just try at the end of the season to bring trophies to the table and not bottles to the table. Thank you.
Well, going from an Arsenal that has hired to bottle everything, um, there's a Chelsea that was scintillate. 7 was the number. Um, in the late 80s, Shina Peter sang 777 is the number. Oluwa Shina. So I mean, it was a 7-star power performer, and they were able to dispatch Port Vale. Everybody will expect that. However, Collins, you are a Chelsea fan. You support Chelsea. I know Temilolo also support Chelsea. But I mean, is this an indication that Chelsea will take it to Collins?
No, like this is not an indication that Chelsea will take it on. What I see if it was Chelsea, you see that thing, Port View, you understand? I was expected nothing less than 15-0.
Ah,
When I
Kilode,
saw 7, I was still disappointed.
you are
When
disappointed
I
with
saw
7.
7-0, I'm disappointed with 7.
Why?
I'm considering the way we playing, considering the way we be losing up and like disappointing fans with results. I think the fans deserve 15-0. You understand? I feel like you should count the number of fans in Lagos, Nigeria, and score the exact number of goals on the pitch because we deserve it. What is so? How do we want to share 7-0? How do is only me and Temiolo will enjoy the 7-0? What will the rest enjoy? So there is no indication. It's not an indication of turning point anything. You understand? We are still going to go back to we are playing Man City next. You understand?
True.
I so much hope we lose. I so much hope we lose. But I don't
Why?
need to hope. I know we will lose. You
Why?
understand? I don't need to hope. I know we will lose.
But I
Why should
mean,
we
if you are coming from winning 7-0, well, is that not a confidence booster? We saw what's happened to Arsenal at the moment. They lost to Man City. They are losing to Southampton. You had a terrible run. Now you've been able to turn it around. Yes, it's an FA Cup game. It's against Port Vale, but you won. That should be a confidence booster. So why do you think
we
this will not be
won
a confidence booster enough to be able to
we won
challenge
against
Man
a
City?
team. We won against a team that's like top 3 bottom in the League 2. Or which league I thought was it League 2? They are not even which league is that?
Yeah,
League
I
1.
think League Two.
I think League One or League Two, and they are not even
Is
topping.
league they are last. I'm telling you that these guys are they are not even they are last or second to the last. So why would I be confidence? Why would I be I'll organize boys in my street that will beat Portville. Did you see they are playing they were playing nonsense. They were not they were not we need we need we need if you watch if you saw this match, like it was too easy. So there is no setup. It was just like last season when we were beating in the conference league, when we were beating teams like Noah Ark, we were beating teams like things I've never seen before. 8-0. We beat a team 8-0 last season. You know, the only league test we faced was when we went to the final and met with Betis. You understand? We Betis texted us, and we saw they almost beat us. We had to do comeback to win that match. You understand? So this match against Port Vale yesterday, yeah, it was we saw the only positive was I saw Liam make some real changes. You understand? The formation was solid. You understand? He puts players in their real position, and that was the only take, and it paid off. You understand? So I'm not going to use this based on experience, based on what I've seen. I'm not going to use this as the hope that we'll not start doing well. You understand? It's just sad that our next match is Man City because in as much as I want us to win that match, I want us to lose the match. You understand? There is a bigger picture here. You understand? I want us to lose the match because once we lose the match, yes, at least Man City can keep pressuring Arsenal. Maybe we miss out on the Champions League. You understand? But even honestly, we missed out on it already because Liverpool, Manchester United. When you look at it from this way, like, can we catch up? We can't actually. We can't catch up. But I'm just that wicked that I want Chelsea to lose to Man City because I need that pressure on Arsenal. You understand? I need that pressure on Arsenal. So if I don't even need to hope, I feel like Man City are going to beat us. Man City are really hot at the moment. They beat Arsenal and they don't beat Liverpool 4-0. That's 6-0 aggregate between these two top sides. And they kept clean sheets in the process. You understand? We don't stand the chance. To be very honest, we don't stand the chance. So that it was a good result. It was a good result in the sense that FA Cup wise, it is good. It's a good result because Arsenal are out. Arsenal and their devilish set piece routes in their out. So we can actually, like I said before, we can actually scam this one. So FA Cup wise, it's a good result. But generally, does it affect our performance or our mentality? I don't think so. I don't think so, honestly. Pogba didn't give us a challenge. There was no challenge in that match. They were not a threat in any way from first minute to the 90th minute. I didn't see any threats. So it's not affecting us in any way. You understand? So we are still Chelsea. We are still Chelsea under Liam Mousinho. You understand? The inexperienced man, the writing man, the eyeglass Clark Kent. You understand? We are still Chelsea under this man. So there is no real this thing. Until I see maybe we beat Man City and keep going like that, yes, I'll say okay, maybe the result is a turning point. But this result is not a turning point so far, based on experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Temiloluwa, do you agree with what Collins has said? He said he's disappointed because the game don't end 15-0, and he doesn't think this will have a bearing on your upcoming game against Man City. Yes, you Rosner has been having a terrible run. He has been losing games. He has been drawing games. Now he won 7-0 going into a match against Man City. Do you think this changes anything for Chelsea?
Well, I think the match against Portville was an experiment. You understand? Liam wanted to experiment on new tactics and new pattern, and that's why you see he deployed Palmer as an attacking midfielder, putting Estava as the right winger, and I think it worked. You understand? But when you say it worked, it's against it's like playing your team C. So that's just how it is in terms of quality. So I'm not really moved by that. And if you check their last 6 matches, the 2 wins they've had are against teams that are not in the Premier League. So, and like I said, football is a game played in the head before it is played with the leg. You can see players like Enzo Fernandez complaining. You can see somebody like Cucurella complaining. That just tells you. So if they see a club that they feel, okay, this club is probably lesser than we are, you understand, we can beat them. But when they see a Premier League side, there's this mental reverse that, okay, this one, I think they match us. So that is where the test actually is. The test is not in playing in Portville or playing, no. Those people, you beat them even with your eye closed. And Mr. Collins said 15. You are not even happy that you scored 7 because the last 3 matches has been losses. So
But
if
that's true.
Chelsea had won 3-0, it's still the same as winning 7-0, winning 15. Because at this point, they needed a win and they got the win. But the win doesn't build momentum. You understand? The win only just shows the level that the club has attained in the sense that they are not in that position to beat Premier League side, but they are in the position to beat Championship and lesser sides. That's just what it says. And in the Premier League, there are no pushovers. There are no lesser sides in the Premier League. We can see Wolverhampton that have already been relegated, going toe to toe with Liverpool, going toe to toe with Tottenham. You understand? Matching them. So there are no lesser teams in the Premier League, and that is where Chelsea are going to eventually struggle. Like I always say, Liam Rosenov is just a PhD teacher. You understand? A PhD teacher that got a coaching badge. You get, so he knows a lot of things. That's why I see he's always jotting, but it doesn't work. You understand? And football is not of a PhD teacher. A PhD teacher will tell you the diameter and length of an hockey field, but give him an hockey bat and he doesn't even know what to do with it. Yet he will tell you the length of the hockey stick and tell you the weight of the hockey ball, but doesn't know. That's just how Rosenov is. You understand? And I'll keep on saying it. He is not the man to take Chelsea forward. And I think the players, some of the top players, are already discovering that he doesn't have that quality. You understand, to take the club forward. That's why you see somebody like Enzo Fernandez coming outside to talk. You see somebody like Cucurella coming outside to talk. They can see the difference. Maresca is not even a top class manager. You understand? He's not really a top class manager, but he did a very decent job at Chelsea. And imagine if he is not a top level manager, they are bringing in Liam Rosenov, and the players can see a difference in Maresca and Rosenov, and the players are feeling Maresca is better than Rosenov, then obviously the players cannot click. And coming against Manchester City that have picked momentum, beating Arsenal, beating Liverpool, Haaland hat-trick, interesting match against Chelsea, because I know Chelsea don't have a chance. And now Enzo Fernandez, one of their key midfielders,
Has
has
been
been given
suspended.
suspension. He's
He
going
has
to miss the
suspended.
match
He has
against
suspended for
Manchester
two
City.
two games.
It is also going to be a very tricky affair as well, because they will need him in the midfield, because in as much as yes, he came outside to speak what he felt, you understand, doesn't mean that Enzo is not committed. Enzo is one of the top performers in Chelsea. He is even performing better than Cole Palmer. You understand? He has always been consistent in his midfield role. You understand? But then him not being available, Caicedo has just been up and down. Majority of the players have just been struggling. And then you look at the Chelsea backline and then you ask, who can hold Haaland? That's another question. No, we know that Haaland has been on a streak of games without scoring. Imagine him scoring a hat-trick against Liverpool, and then you are up against Hato, Adarabioyo, and so on. No disrespect to these players, but the recruitment of Chelsea has been terrible. The recruitment in terms of staff, in terms of players, has just been terrible. And the idea of getting the young ones is good, but also you need the experience, which is very paramount, and that's what helps Real Madrid win 3 Champions League back to back in a row, because that experience was there. It had a midfield of Casemiro, Modric, and Toni Kroos. You understand? They had Cristiano Ronaldo, Benzema, and these guys were experienced. But in Chelsea, you have a lot of inexperienced footballers that they are not even performing. You can see Liam Delap doesn't even know the leg that he's using. You understand? He bringing him to Chelsea, I'm not surprised that he's playing that way. You understand? But the win against Top View is good because it brings in extra money for the club, considering the fact that they're in the semi-finals. But in the long run, it is not a yardstick to prove that Chelsea are on the right path. Come Manchester City, obviously, if Manchester City can play against, if Manchester City can have as long as these days to rest, coming against Chelsea, I see Manchester City beating Chelsea comfortably without any disturbance.
Okay, that's fantastic. Let's go to the Champions League. Because the last game in the FA Cup that would